Welcome to Advanced Toastmasters Online. This is an online meeting, and here are some online meeting tips. Please mute your microphone and your video, or just your microphone when you're not speaking, and your video when you remove yourself from your seat. And you can do that just by clicking on those little buttons there. Adjust your view on your end by pressing either this button that says Speaker View. If it's in gallery view and you want to only see the speaker, you can press that button. If you want to go back to see the gallery view, click it where it says gallery view. I will be recording on my end, so whatever I see is what will be recorded, but you can make those changes on your end and it won't affect the recording at all. If you have notes or questions for the speaker, please do those in the chat box here. Do that in between the speeches and the prepared speaking sections of the meeting so no one is disrupted. And as a reminder, this meeting will be recorded. It's our policy that by participating in our meeting that you agree to a recording, and it will be available publicly on YouTube and on our website. If you're interested in joining our club, start here and to become a member, or reach out to one of the club members and talk to us about that. If you're watching this on video, at this time I'd like to put the gavel down and say, cha-ching, welcome to Advanced Toastmasters Online. And I am your Toastmasters for today. My name is Dawn Nocera. I'm going to read our club's mission statement. So we are an advanced Toastmasters club which supports Maverick leaders to have more impact by providing an advanced feedback on leadership skills and discovering what it means to be out of the box, innovative leaders. Today's theme is initiation. I'm going to stop sharing at this time. So when I think of initiation as regarding leadership, I was preparing and just thinking of how sometimes as leaders, we are initiating and starting people on a new path of life or a new way of thinking. And we really act as people who hold sort of like, little initiations. Sometimes we'll have a ritual. Sometimes, even Toastmasters has the initiations when you become a DTM, right? You get the medal around your neck. And that's a part of that initiation into DTM. And when you join Toastmasters, you get sworn in and you become a Toastmaster. That's another initiation. So I was just thinking about that and about how our role as leaders and how oftentimes we initiate and get initiated into seeing new experiences. And sometimes the people that we're leading bring us challenges that initiate us and move us into a whole new realm of understanding about the world. So with that, I am going to start the meeting and by asking my helpers for today to share what they're going to be doing. Andrea, would you share what you're going to be doing as a timer today?
Yes, I'm going to be keeping track of your time today. For our table topics, it's 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, you will get the green. At 1.5 minutes, you'll get yellow and red when your time is up. That is the same with your speeches. I will be giving it at 5 minutes and then 6 minutes and 7 minutes for Angela, and then for Trisha, you are doing a longer speech, so I will give you the timers at 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and 6 minutes for your speech part, and then at 2, 2.5, and 3 minutes, or if you want it 5, so 2, 3, and 5 for your question and answer time. That's what I'm going to be doing today. Have fun.
Thank you, Andrea. And at this point, we don't have a grammarian for the day, but I have a word that I just was thinking it would be appropriate to go along with initiation. The word is initiative. So I would just like to offer that as a word for today, initiative, which means, the will to start something. It doesn't necessarily mean, driving force. It just means you having the will, having initiative, the will to start something. So I just made up that definition. So if you're checking Webster, you can let me know what the official meaning is later. Our first speaker of today is Angela. And managing priorities is something that most of us struggle with. In her speech today, Angela is going to present a new way to look at your to-do list. Before starting, Angela requests that everyone have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil available. So please help me welcome Angela Peterson, the ABCs of Priorities. The ABCs of Priorities, Angela Peterson.
I never have enough time in the day. My to-do list is always so much longer than the time I have. Anybody else run into this problem? Yeah, I see everybody's heads nodding. So I started making my to-do list, and like I was taught to do as an intern, I marked A for the things that have to be done today, B for the things that really should be done today, and C's for the things that, yeah, okay, they have to be done sometime, maybe not today. And at the end of each day, I found myself looking at this long to-do list, and all of my C's are crossed off, maybe one of my A's, and the B's, they were never done. When I was asked to become an area governor, I went to a 2-day training in our district, and our district governor gave everybody the book, John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. We were told that we needed to pick a chapter and we would present a 5 to 7 minute speech at our executive officer training on the chapter we chose. Like everyone, I ran back to my seat and started flipping through the book, and I saw chapter 17, the Law of Priorities. This is something I know something about. Maybe it's something I could learn something from. So I signed up for it. And then I read the chapter and realized I don't know anything about priorities, according to John Maxwell. Reading the 17th law in John C. Maxwell's book changed the way I think about priorities. He scraps the ABCs and instead looks at 3 R's. What is required? What has the greatest return? What offers the greatest reward? Starting with what is required. It's not what is required to be done. In theory, everything on your to-do list needs to be done. But the question that Maxwell asks is this required to be done by me? Laundry has to be done in our household. I have 3 kids, 3 soccer players. We have a lot of laundry. But it doesn't need to be done by me. My daughter's 13, my son's 10. My husband's 40-something, all perfectly capable of running the washing machine. It needs to be done. It does not need to be done by me. An example from work, I frequently told my former boss, just let me take care of that. She felt that everything that came into her inbox from home office needed to be done immediately, and the only way to do that was to do it herself. She could be in the middle of doing performance reviews, and she would stop to handle a routine refund. There was no reason for that. She was required to do the performance reviews, but any one of us on the team could have easily handled that refund. She needed to learn Maxwell's laws. What is required to be done by me? The second R is return. What provides the greatest return? Let's think about a Toastmasters club. If you're in the position, say of an area governor or area director, you could work on something that benefits everyone in your area, affecting several hundred people, or you could work on a speech, something that affects you personally. Which provides the greatest return? Probably that project that involves the entire area. Another example from work, I could be testing a project that affects every client my customer or my employer has. Or I could work on a letter that I need to send to one individual customer. Typically, the testing that applies to every client is going to provide the greatest rate of return. The third R is reward. What do you find the most rewarding? You have to do things that are enjoyable. The best way to explain this, I found, is quoting Maxwell. It says, "I love playing golf. No matter what else I do, I will find time to do this. This is the firelighter in my life. They energize me and keep me passionate, and passion provides the fuel in a person's life to keep him going." You have to do things that you find rewarding. I find time for Toastmasters. I enjoy it. I find it rewarding. It energizes me. The 3 R's in Maxwell's book: required, return, reward. At this point, I'd like to take 15, 20 seconds and everybody jot down a quick to-do list. I know you have a million things floating in your mind. Just write down the first 5 things that come to mind. Okay, now that you have that list, look at it through the eyes of John C. Maxwell. And if you look at what's required, what provides the greatest return, and what's rewarding, how many things on that list should not be on that list? How does John C. Maxwell help you reprioritize your life? Let's forget about the ABCs of priorities and start looking at 3 R's of priorities. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Angela. I was furiously taking notes and very happy that I can do that on my computer easily. And at this time, I'd like to ask Tricia Grow to unmute yourself. And Tricia's our second speaker today. Tricia's applying to be a short-term missionary to visit Thailand for 12 days. And she has many things she plans on and what she wishes to achieve during her visit. Tricia today will share what her plans are and how, if we choose, we can support her. So please help me welcome Tricia Grow as she presents her press conference, Support My Trip to Thailand. Support My Trip to Thailand, Tricia Grow.
Thank you. I've taken the initiative of creating this press conference to give you a little heads up on my life and what I'm planning on doing in the coming months. I'm planning on going on a trip to Thailand, but this won't be a trip just with myself. It'll be a group of about 10 people. And I've created a presentation that'll show you why I'm going to Thailand and what I'll be doing while I'm there. My trip to Thailand. The reason I am going, well, one of the main reasons is my church supports this family. This is Mike Arter, and he is in charge of a church in Thailand, Foursquare, which my church is also a Foursquare church. But mainly, him and his wife have two ministries. The first ministry is actually a safe house for girls. Girls who have either been trafficked or are in danger of trafficking because of their family situations. And then in addition to that, they have a school for English. Now, this actually drives funds for their Grace House, which is the name of the safe house is Grace House. And they teach English, and people pay to come to their school and learn English. This is a picture of Mike and his beautiful family. And I've had the pleasure of meeting them a few times when they visited the US. The three main things I plan on doing while I'm there in Thailand. First, I will actually have an opportunity to assist Mike in teaching his students English. I plan to implement pieces of the youth leadership program from Toastmasters and enable the students to have more self-esteem and comfort while speaking in front of others. Secondly, I'll be able to visit the ladies at the safe house and plan on taking supplies that I can teach them a small beaded neck bracelet project using a weaving crafting. And third, I will actually have the opportunity to reach out to the hill tribes, which are the city. They live in the mountains, and I will be able to help bring supplies such as clothing, soap, everyday necessity type of things, and just be able to interact with them on a personal level, because they don't have much interaction with people outside of their tribes. And lastly, how can you help? Well, there are many ways you can help me. First, you can just pray. I would be more than excited if you would do this for me. Not just me, but the whole team that will be going. We'll be leaving on February 9th and returning on the 20th. It's an international trip. It's a very long trip. So please pray for us and our safety and the traveling, that we're able to get there and that we're able to function after a very long trip. Next, you can sponsor me. You can actually make a check out to my church, and I have the instructions there on the screen, or you can reach out to me and ask. This is actually will be considered a charitable contribution, so when you're doing your taxes next year, you can thank me. And last, you can share my trip with others. You can let your other friends, family, Toastmasters know that you know a friend who's going to be able to go to Thailand. And how many of us ever have that type of opportunity? I hope you now know why I'm going to Thailand, what I plan on doing there, and how you can help. I will now end my presentation and open it for questioning. If anyone has any questions, just raise your hands. Yes, Doug.
Tricia, this sounds like a very interesting mission for you, something of great value. Have you started a GoFundMe account for raising money?
I have not yet. It's very still in the early planning stages, and our church has a missionary team, and they have created Facebook pages such as a GoFundMe, but as of yet has not been created to my knowledge.
Okay. And just wonder, what is the Foursquare Church? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's actually a church that was originated in California, and it's very similar, if you know anything about different religious types, very similar to Baptists. So we believe that there's three entities: Jesus, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and he's living, he's alive, and we're going to be meeting him again someday.
Thank you.
Yes, Don.
I'm curious, how much do you actually have to raise in order to go on this trip?
Yes, so they're giving it's kind of like a margin from 16 to 1800 for the airfare, incidentals, food, travel while we're in country, but from 16 to 1800 is what they're looking for.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? All right. Well, oh, sure, Doug.
I was also wondering how many people are expected to be going on this mission.
From my home church here in York Springs, we have 5 members that are going, and we have a sister church in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which there's interest, but I don't know the number of yet. But we only have a slot of 10 as maximum that can go. Yes, Don.
What interests you most about this trip, or what are you looking forward to the most about it?
Well, I've been on a more localized mission trip. I was able to go to West Virginia 2 years ago, and I tell you, it's actually very selfish. I feel good helping other people. It makes me feel good. And I'm friends with this Mike Arter, the gentleman that runs this safe house, and I get to see all these smiling faces every day in my Facebook page. I'm so excited to go spend some time with these young ladies and teach them things and teach them how to be more confident while they're speaking with others, teach them how to create these bracelets that will possibly help and make their lives better, because they could use these bracelets to sell or trade and create a more independent life when they get older.
Thank you.
All right, I will then wrap up and hand the meeting back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tricia. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm glad to get to know you even more through your travels and your desires to help others. And at this point, I'd like to turn our meeting over to our table topics master and remind anyone that if you have a comment that you want to share with Tricia or Angela, you can do that through the chat at this time, or you can wait during the evaluation period to do that as well. So at this time, Rick, are you ready to be our table topics master?
Always.
Yay.
I will do my best to initiation some good topics. And welcome and thank you very much for having me as your topics master. Oh, this has been a very difficult week. Labor Day marks the official end of summer. I don't know what it's like where you're living, but I know where we are. Today is a day in the 80s. Tomorrow's going to be in the 90s, and they close the outdoor pool. What is it? What is it that is upsetting to see the end of summer? What affects you when Labor Day comes around? Angela, could you answer that one for me?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. For me, Labor Day is not the end of summer. For me, summer ends when school starts. Middle of August rolls around, the kids go back to school, soccer practice starts, and the chaos begins. From that point forward, there is not a moment of free time anywhere to be found. So Labor Day, in my world, is a day after the chaos has started to have a day off from work and get caught up on those few things, maybe get an extra load of laundry done, maybe get the dishes completely cleaned out of the sink once during soccer season. But it really doesn't mark the beginning of anything. If anything, for me, Labor Day is the middle of the chaos. It's not really the middle, but it kind of is, because you've already started and the beginning's always the worst. I always used to really like Labor Day because my birthday is September 6th. So once in a while, my birthday would fall on Labor Day. But as far as Labor Day being the end of summer, that's never really rung true in my world. So, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Angela. Very nice job. So your little speech gave me a couple little thoughts. First of all, I looked at my list of to-do things that you suggested we write. And then you said that the 6th is your birthday, and that's only, what, 2 days away, so tomorrow. Happy birthday. My birthday happens to be in December, very close to the holidays. In my case, Hanukkah, and in probably most of your cases, Christmas. And boy, that is not a really good time to have a birthday, because when everybody's getting gifts, I get just one instead of one for my birthday and one for the holiday. When does your birthday come around? And what excites you about that? Is that you're getting a year older? Is that you want to share it with others? Or is it very introverted to yourself? Aaron, can you answer that question?
Just to repeat that question is about what am I going to expect for my birthday, right?
What is special about your birthday to you?
Oh, life. Oh, Toastmasters. Everyone loves their birthdays. Maybe except with me. Because my birthday is actually in May. And for those of you who went to universities, or schools, studies, you will know that May is the time whereby all the examinations are. And never, ever, ever enjoy a birthday without a book beside me. Imagine the moment whereby you are sitting in the library and then you are saying, "Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me." And there are no girls. Unfortunately. So I wasn't expecting too much for my birthday until like recently after I graduated, long time ago, work, etc. Then I realized that my birthday can be a good time whereby I can meet other people. When I say in my birthday itself, I can say that this whole month is my birthday. I can go to pub and say, "Hey, this is my birthday." And then when you see all those people who wear those birthday happy 18, I will be like, birthday happy 30. So you actually let people know how they interact with you. And when it's your birthday, you got to make it count. It's about the mentality. So I'm looking forward to a nice free round of beers, wine. Because if it's your birthday and you go to bars and you know you, they treat you. Even though they know that you only have 1 day of birthday, but they will always treat you for all the time. And say, "Hey, today's my birthday." "Oh, give it a birthday shot for you. Vodka." "Oh, no, I want something stronger. I want whiskey or something different." So I always love to expect my birthday nowadays because not only I can get free alcohols, I can also go for bars whereby I can actually book a private birthday table and look at people around me and say, "Wow, hi. Are you interested to join my champagne table? At least I have a birthday cake and you can meet hot guys like me," for example. And then that's how you actually interact with people and look forward to my birthday next year, and enjoy the best of it. Maybe I will remove my singularity and what's the word of the day? Initiate that conversation. Back to you.
Thank you, Aaron. Very nice. So some people celebrate their birthday on the day they were born. Other people celebrate their birthday on a date that had some strong significance to them. Many years ago, I participated, actually Lori and I both participated in Tony Robbins seminars, Anthony Robbins seminar. And one of the things we did was walk on hot coals. A lot of people, they look at that and it's scary as anything. And it was scary to us as well. But I had some people say that it was so profound to them. It was like a rebirth, a way to start life over again. What kind of experience did you have in your life that may have been something that was so profound, it gave you a reason to question who you are and what you're doing in that. Doug, could you answer that one?
Thank you for that interesting question. What in my life was so profound that it changed kind of everything? That is a tough one. I think
That's why I chose you.
Well, I think there's a couple of examples of things that have changed my way of thinking. An old friend of mine, in just a casual discussion, I think we were in first year university, he kind of made a statement that I've never forgotten. He, several years later, had already forgotten that he'd even ever said it, but it meant something to me. It said, optimism or pessimism, either way, you're deluding yourself. So why not think positive? And I just thought that was really deep. And ever since then, I've always kind of used that as advice, and I've become an optimist because it just made more sense. Why not think positive? So that is just a small thing that happened, but it did influence my way of thinking for the rest of my life. So back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug, for an interesting answer. Along a similar vein of life-changing experiences, I learned something from my dad, that we should always be there to help others. And Tricia, I see that you kind of follow through with that. But when approached by a beggar, somebody on the street that looks like they might be just asking for $1 so they can buy a bottle, and maybe not, maybe they're begging to get some food in their tummy. How do you react to this type of a person? Do you help them? Do you give them a buck? Or do you just walk on by? No judgments here, just a little honesty. Don, could you answer that one?
I could. And I'll have to say thank you so much for saying no judgment, because I find that I have a hard time with this. And depending on what I'm up to or what state of mind I'm in, I react differently. And I don't think that that's quite fair to other people who might be in a different situation. My daughter, who has spent the last 2 summers in Chicago doing some research at Northwestern, has been a huge inspiration to me to think about homeless people and people on the streets differently, because her approach is they're all God's children. And sometimes they just need to be seen. And I find that that's a good way for me to, or good aspiration for me to like look and try to look at that, look at people from that perspective, which I do, but the action to actually treat them as if they were a child of God and that I can see them is something that I definitely aspire to do, although I don't do it. And especially when I'm walking with my kids, I find it really difficult for me to take the higher stand. And this is real honest. I mean, this is hard for me to even admit that this is a part of my life. But when I see them and they approach me, I quickly do an analysis. What would be the quickest way for me to get rid of them? Do I have $1 in my pocket that's fast and easy that I can hand them? And sometimes I don't have cash on me because I don't carry cash. And then I just have to say something and hopefully it comes out appropriate or, halfway nice sounding, but I don't think I make that mark very often. So uncomfortable question to share how I approach that, but I definitely leave with prayers wishing that my actions matched my inner thoughts. So back to you, Rick.
Thank you for your honesty, Dawn. I applaud you for that. I know that is a very difficult question to ask, and I asked it of you because I really felt as if you could answer it well. And it is a difficult spot to be in, and there absolutely was no judgment, at least by me and hopefully by others. Madam Toastmaster, do we have time for 2 more table topics so that everybody can be included, or are we towards the end?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from Andrea. So.
Well, she might be. She's one of the next 2, I guarantee you that. Going along with the same topic, you're walking along with your newborn baby, grandchild, or child, and you know that your actions are going to have an impact on this human's life. What you do. What do you think is the most important lesson to pass on to this young child? Andrea, could you answer that for us?
Sure. Let me start the timer here. Well, first off, I've never had a newborn and I will never have grandchildren. So those 2 things are not going to be on my purview. However, I do have an adopted child. And in that, I've had to really think about not only what he learned before he came to our house, but what we impart into him that will change his life. There's 2 things that I found were very important for me. One, that he have faith in God. And the second one is that he would be kind to people. The being kind to people actually was more difficult for him than having a faith. Before he came to us, he had a whole group, actually 9 families that had imparted faith into him. So he had that. But being kind to people, not so much. In fact, his counselor called him a sociopath. And living with a sociopath is very difficult. And so I had to do the one thing that I never thought I would have to do, which was to teach him guilt. Surprisingly, guilt is a very important thing for everybody to know. And it was not something that I thought I would ever be teaching someone. Is that guilt is a good thing. Shame is bad, guilt is good. And the first time he felt guilt about anything was a day we celebrated. Now he's a really awesome person and he is very kind to people, and I'm excited that we got to do that with him. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Andrea. Wow, guilt is pretty powerful. They often say that Jewish mother's greatest tool is guilt. Anyway, as you all know, I am a rabbi, and recently, last week when I was conducting services, a woman raised her hand. She said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "What's that?" She said, "What is God?" I'm like, "Oh boy. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Who is God?" I thought that was a profound question. It gave me a chance to really go inside and give her an answer that worked for me. Tricia, you're going on a trip soon as a missionary. I know this is stretching the lines of Toastmasters. But what is the Supreme Being to you? What does it mean to you? Is it a being? Is it a person? What is it to you? Tricia.
Thank you so much, Rich. Well, yes, Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit. These can be some scary concepts for a lot of people. They might believe one, the other, or none at all. To me, God is 3 people in one. It's a concept we can't really understand as humans, but we try our best. God sent himself as Jesus to the earth. He was a person just like you and me. He bled, he died, he rose again. Jesus was, is, and always will be. He's there before your hurts. He's there after your hurts. And I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to share his love with people from another culture, another world. And yes, sometimes we might have to be careful on how we share that love because they don't understand it or believe it. And sometimes it can actually cause issues in a legal sense. So I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share my beliefs. And whether you believe the same way or not, it doesn't matter. We can still be friends, we can still be Toastmasters, and we can still enjoy our time together. But that is what I believe. Back to you, Rick.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you. I'm going to complete with what my answer would be to that is, of course, being Jewish, we have different beliefs. But one of the things that we were taught in first beginning of class is that all religions are good, they're all positive, and we just need to respect each other. And I can see that that is within the group here, that we all have mutual respect for each other. As a matter of fact, I will admit it, one of my very closest friends is a Monsignor, a priest, and we love to hang out together. And I think that's because we have a mutual respect. And that's what I love about this club, is that the members here all respect each other on our own levels, and we're going forward. Madam Toastmaster, I'd like to turn the meeting back over to you. Thank you all for a wonderful table topic session.
Thank you, Rick, for those enlightening questions and stretching and creating a lot of initiative and initiation type of questions to bring us into further understanding about ourselves and others. So I appreciate that. At this point, I'd like to bring on Doug as our general evaluator and have him finish up our meeting with the evaluation portion of our meeting. Please help me welcome Doug Thiessen.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Our first evaluator is Erin Leung, who is going to be giving some feedback to Angela for her speech. So please welcome Erin.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. Engine initiated. So now is the time whereby I will switch on my engine to evaluate Angela's speech. It's a speech that connects with people. You have to admit that somewhere down your line, that there will be always something that bothers you. Priorities, priorities, priorities. And it's a very nice one. It reminds me of when I was a child, that it brings me the ABC vibe, where I learned A is the apple, B banana, and C coconut. Maybe they didn't teach coconut at that time. But it's a nice start that when it starts, she lead us all the way to the end without any attention driven away. Everyone was paying attention to Angela's speech. So great job. Give a round of applause to Angela. I love how practical this speech is because she reflects what we do with two examples all the time. Work and your own. Family and work are two of the most basic things that we usually connect with people. And she brought the 3 rules. If people do remember the 3 rules, the 3 R's. Is it required by you? Is there a greatest return? And then is there a great reward? So with this in mind, you are able to do it. And there is a practice at the end for us to take out a piece of paper and write it down. So I love it. If I want to challenge Angela on something, it's that on the speech itself, everything is well structured. There's only one thing to left in mind. It's the practice session. Remember the moment whereby you told us that we have to write it down? That session costs around 30 seconds. So if I take out a pen, write things down, I do not have time to write all my things down. So it would be better if you can consolidate the first few portions of your speech into simpler ones, whereby your focus at the end to test the effectiveness of it, to do the practice that lasts for 1 minute. Give some time allowance to do that. Otherwise, we will not be able to practice what we have learned from you. And that is actually one of the key objectives of your speech. And secondly, I would like to challenge Angela is that I would love to see samples. PowerPoint slides, samples like piece of paper. How would you allocate? This is a sample piece of paper that I did. You can actually do it. Like I put myself A, B, C's, and then would yours be the same as mine? Let's compare at the end of the session or end of the meeting so that we can stick it up on the wall and remind ourselves of the priorities. That way, you can actually have a lingering effect that your speech will last even after your meeting. Thirdly, I would like to challenge Angela is that most of the time when she was speaking, other parts clarity-wise very clear. The comfort is very nice, very confident. I would love to challenge her vocal variety because most of the speech itself, most of the time, is actually on a monotone moment. I would love to see animated ones. If you animate it, people will see that that's maybe a twist. So that's all for my evaluation. And I will do the roll call as the practice of advanced Toastmasters to pass to different people to give some feedbacks on your speech. So anyone wants to give evaluation for Angela? If you do, please raise your hand. If no, I will point out, okay, Dawn first.
I really enjoyed Angela's personal story at the beginning of her speech where she was relating this book and this idea to her life and how it actually, the story gave us context to show like how her life changed and how she thought that she kind of knew something about this before she read it and then she learned something additional to help us with. So I appreciated the story that she told about the Toastmasters training and meeting and then the challenge. So I appreciated the story. So thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Next, I will actually ask Doc to actually give some comments on it. Doc, sorry about that.
Thanks. Angela, I think that you did a good job with the speech. It was very interesting information. I hadn't learned that part before. I need to read the book. I also liked your ending for your speech. You did a real call to action in evaluating our own priorities. So that was well done. One thing I would challenge you with is just watching your gestures. I found a lot of it was a bit off the screen, or maybe your hands were just in the corner and you could see there was movement that was going on outside of the frame. So watch that for our video chat. It's something to be aware of. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Doc. So next, anyone else want to give some comments? Tricia?
Yeah, I echo what most of everyone has. I did see when you began the speech, you began with the ABCs, and we all thought we would know where the speech was going, and then you threw in the curve with the 3 R's. I really like that because I thought that helped us tune in even deeper to what you were sharing with us because we weren't familiar with the 3 R's and what they were and how to implement them. So I just thought it was really a really good hook to start with one thing and then kind of shift it to this other thing. So.
Thank you, Tricia. And with that rate card by Andrea, now it concludes the evaluation session. If there are anyone that actually gives some further feedbacks, please give private message to Angela to assist her in her speech later on. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Aaron, for a great evaluation and leading the round robin as well. Moving right along to the second evaluator, Dawn. I do appreciate you taking the initiative to step in and do that as well as the Toastmaster role. So please welcome Dawn Nacera for some feedback on Tricia's speech.
Thank you, Doug. My feedback for Tricia today is that I appreciate that this was a well-organized press conference presentation, and also that she used that word initiative just to start her speech out. The trip to Thailand, who the people were, what she does in order to plan to help, and then how we can help her. That was the structure of her press conference. As since I just finished my own press conference, I'm remembering what this press conference presentation is about. One of the things I would challenge you to do is to think about what's the challenge for us as an audience? Like what opposition might we be feeling, if any? I mean, this was what the press conference is kind of in general is meant to give us a sense as speakers of overcoming objections or stating a situation that might not be an easy situation to swallow. But this was like a really easy situation to swallow. So I don't know how you would have incorporated that, but the objectives of this speech were to kind of get us to overcome our own questions about the situation. So maybe you could have made something up. And I don't know what that is exactly, but as far as a press conference and as far as having a very structured and very organized speech, I think you did really well. Tricia did really well. And you did a really good job of handling the questions from us. And at this time, I think, let me see where am I? Yeah, I'm at green. So at this time, I'd like to open up the floor for additional comments from everyone else. If you have anything that you would like to add to this evaluation for Tricia. Angela, is that your hand up? I think so. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes. Tricia, you have so much passion and so much excitement in your voice, and that carried through all the way through the speech. So I would have preferred to have fewer words on the slides, because I found myself trying to read the details on your slides and not listening to your voice. So the trick to PowerPoints and slides is to use as few words as possible. Maybe just a picture of the family and a picture of the Grace house, maybe a map of how far you're going. But you didn't need all of those details in there. Tell us the details. Let the passion in your voice speak. So that's my suggestion, but great job.
Great job, Angela. Good additional feedback. Do I see any other hands up? Andrea, do I see your hand up, or are you just showing me green? Okay. Anyone else have something that they want to give feedback for Tricia? If not, I have one quick question, Tricia, that I'd like to ask you before you sign off on this particular thing. I have a question for your speech. Is how often, or what's been your other experience of traveling outside of the country? I'm just wondering about that.
The only other place I've been outside of the country is, well, two. I've been to Canada. I don't know if that really counts. But I've been to Europe several times, and Jamaica.
Okay, good. Thank you. It was just on my mind, and I couldn't stop myself from asking. At this time, I'm going to pass it back over to Doug, our general evaluator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don, for the great feedback on Tricia's speech. I'd now like to call upon Andrea as our timer to give our report, please. Andrea.
See if I can unmute myself there. Wow. Okay. This was fun. I was having fun timing today while I was listening to everyone. For Trish, let's see, we'll start with Angela's speech. It was 6 minutes and 56 seconds. That is amazing that you had it so well timed. I'm impressed. Tricia, your speech was 4 minutes and 46 seconds, and your question and answer time was 3 minutes and 10 seconds. For our table topics, Angela, you were 1 minute and 22 seconds. Aaron, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Doug, 1 minute and 23 seconds. Dawn, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. I had 1 minute and 44 seconds. And Tricia, 1 minute and 37 seconds. Aaron, for your evaluation, you were at 3 minutes and 28 seconds plus 2 minutes and 29 seconds for question and answers. Dawn, your evaluation was exactly 2 minutes. And your question and answer was 1 minute and 55 seconds. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andrea, for the timers report. I suppose I should bring it back to Dawn just for a quick report on the word of the day, since you had the initiative to add one in as a Toastmaster.
Initiative. I think everyone used it. No, not everyone. Who did not use? You didn't use it, Andrea? Oh, and Angela. Yeah, well, Rick used it for sure. I snuck it in there. Trisha snuck it in there. Doug, you did. So yeah, we all did a great job, and some people used it more than once. So thank you very much, Doug. Back to you.
Thank you, Dawn. This brings the meeting to my part of things for a closing report. I think that we've had a good meeting. We had a couple of people filling roles at the last minute, which thank you everyone who did that. It's great that we all are able to step in and just do what needs to be done. Dawn led the meeting well as the Toastmaster and as the president. We started slightly late for our pre-meeting start. It was 11:58 as opposed to 55, but we are discussing club business, which is important. But the actual start of the meeting with the Toastmaster was right on 12 o'clock, at least local time here. So that was very well done. I like the theme and the introduction on the theme of initiation. Dawn did a great job there. One thing I'll challenge Dawn on is speaking kind of slowly as she's thinking about what she needs to say next. So I would try and recommend a more solid pause, collect your thoughts, and move forward. Our timer was Andrea, and I liked the big bright cards. They were very visible, very clear, so that was nicely done. She was using the private chats to send your timing colors to different people. I was seeing that in the table topics for myself. Nicely done. One challenge I'd have for Andrea is in the name on screen, do a rename to mark yourself as timer, just so that we make sure to know and keep your thumbnail visible. Our table topics master was Rabbi Rick, who has such great enthusiasm when asking and introducing the questions. That really stood out. I liked the questions too. They were interesting. They were personal. They helped us get to know each other. So that was also very well done. Challenge Rick, though, that they weren't exactly on the theme of initiative, although I didn't see exactly when the theme was entered online to know how much lead time people, or the table topics master would have to know about that. So a small challenge there. And one other challenge I would have for the table topics master is the first person that Rick called was one of our prepared speakers who has a major speaking role already. So I would tend to recommend that you leave the major speaking roles to the end of the list of topics and call upon people with much smaller speaking roles first, just to make sure that we all get a great chance if there's not enough time for everybody to do it. I really like this statement on respect at the end of that, though. It was well done. Our first evaluator, Aaron, I like that he was drawing specific examples from the speech and was very specific in his suggestions for feedback. Not only did he say, this could be improved, but he included, I think it could be improved by doing this, and gave us something very specific there. So that's really well done. I would always watch or encourage evaluators to avoid talking about themselves at all during the evaluation, because it's such a short amount of time that we have. So it's something to watch out for there, Aaron. And then Dawn, as our evaluator, she was really good in evaluating on the objectives of the speech. And I think that was quite valuable to provide feedback there. One little challenge I have for Dawn, and also Rick as a table topics master, and kind of for everybody, where you're, during your role, calling upon other people to speak, is make sure we mute ourselves once the other person has started to speak, because particularly where in a meeting like this, we're on speaker view, if I chuckle or kind of just add a little audible thing, the screen can flip to the other person, back to me, when someone else is speaking, and it becomes a very big distraction for someone else watching this meeting on speaker view. It pulls the whole visual away. So something for us to all think about is making sure we go on mute as soon as someone else is called upon. That concludes my report. I think we've had a great meeting. And I would like now to return the floor to our Toastmaster, Dawn.
Thank you, Doug, for that wonderful evaluation of our meeting and for helping me think before I speak. We'll see how that goes. And also I want to say thank you, Andrea, for being on top of remembering us doing the business meeting before the meeting. I think without your reminder, we might have just glossed right over that. And I would like to continue to ask you to continue to do that again and again. I know that that's something that you can do easily, and I appreciate it. So at this time, I'm going to share my screen. Well, at this time, if anybody needs to leave, I'm going to put the gavel down so you can depart with ease. And I'm going to share the screen to look at next week's meeting and let you know. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to also stop the recording. Dun, dun, dun.
I have to go, so take